really hope you enjoyed this video. Subscribe, like, and click the bell to be notified of more fantastic music content just like this. Welcome to the Need to Know Music Show with me, Ronan McManus, here on Switchbox TV. And today I'm joined by a country pop singer who released his first album at age 11 and has appeared on The Voice, where he came runner-up. It's a fantastic achievement. Please welcome Billy Gilman. How you doing?
Hello, it's good to be here.
Excellent. Yeah, well, we were just talking briefly before we started about the sort of crazy year, and you've sort of hunkered down now in Rhode Island rather than after a little bit of traveling around. What's your year been like so far? And I know that plans have been cancelled and new things have come through. What's your year been like?
Well, from January to March, it was great.
Yeah.
I was doing concerts, and thankfully, I had a few months of work. And it was weird because I knew something was going on, having traveled for so many years of literally my entire life. Let's be honest. And all of these people just started to wear masks and more masks, but people weren't really being honest about the topic. So I wasn't really paying attention. So I'm like, something's going on. And of course, lockdown happened mid-March. So from March till now, it's just really, COVID and the coronavirus and all that's been going on is a horrible, horrible thing. It's infected some of my friends pretty badly. So I've seen firsthand how real it is. But it really, aside from dogs barking in your living room when you're trying to work because you're at work from home, it's been a great 7.5-ish months for me to reconnect with fans, unlike I've never done before. I mean, all these virtual concerts that I've been doing on my Facebook has really enabled my fan base to grow immensely and connect with them. You go to Indiana, you go to Michigan, you go to Arkansas, you go all these places, and there's only a limited amount of meet and greets. There's only a limited amount of whatever. I can meet all these people virtually every Friday night. So is it the best scenario economically? No, but it's been a great, great connecting to my fans, because that's A, what I'm all about, and B, I've never really been that artist to really drive home the social media, and I had no choice this time because that was the only way to connect. So it's actually been horrifically great. So it's been horrible, but it's been fantastic at the same time.
Yeah, I think it's kind of been a really we've all had a very steep learning curve of getting to grips with technology and
For
and as
sure.
you say, because with no live, I mean, I basically I do gigs for a living. That's what I was doing before all this happened. So to be taken away overnight, and it's like, okay, well, what do we do now? I've been doing it for 25 years, So having
Absolutely.
to get to grips with the live stream. So is that something you've been doing? You're doing on a weekly basis?
Yeah, so I did 2 weeks of like the same songs, because everyone just kept saying, I want to hear One Voice, I want to hear Oklahoma, I want to hear There's a Hero, all the songs that my fans know me. And I kept thinking, okay, I'm not going to another city or another state or another country. I'm in my living room by the piano every Friday night. It's going to be the same viewers. I started to dig in and do theme nights, which
Yeah.
normally is not my thing, but I get so bored doing my own songs. There's even going to be a huge impact of boredom, because now I'm going to be in front of the same people that will want to tune in, which will probably be a lot of the same people every Friday night because we're all in our living rooms. So it enabled me to dive in and learn songs that I would never sing. I mean, I was singing everything from Hanson's Bop to uh, I'm Still Standing by Elton John to Candle
Great
on the
song.
Water by Helen Reddy. So I was flipping all over the place, and songs I would have never done. I did a Disney night, I did a pop night, I did, of course, a country night. It's been fun. And I just recently, October the 9th, I did a huge concert, full band, really like you were actually seeing a concert. Was in Nashville for that, and it was called Coming Home, aptly titled. I'm going
Yeah.
back to my roots, and it was fun to be with a band, even though you're not with an audience, to be with that vibe and that energy again was really great. That rather than just using tracks and sitting in your your living room.
I know, yeah, sort of playing with human beings again. It's
Yeah.
like who would have thought it?
I
It's
know.
sort of
Like, were
when
you
you
again?
can't.
What's a guitar?
Yeah, well, this is what we talked many times on this show about the idea that the fact that you can't play simultaneously to somebody over Zoom because of the slight delay, and
Right.
that connection, as much as you can play, you can play on your own and you can play to people down through a screen. Playing with other
Right.
people that vibe is kind of what gets you into music in the first place, and for that to not be possible is really, really tough. Not to be possible live. You can kind of do it like one person plays blind, another person plays along with them, so you can do that.
Right.
But
Right.
yeah, so how long was it sort of since you'd done something like that, and what was the feeling of it?
So I was doing acoustic stuff from January to March. Full band was December 22nd to December 21st. So from December till October was the
Wow.
first time I'd been with a full band. Guys that have been with me for years, and everything was correct where we could have a full band, and it was a bigger stage, and all. So it was almost a full year since I'd have that rocking sensation. You can rock out with the musicians that I travel with, or if I do a track show, they're all of my music tracks, so it sounds like a full band, and I'm running them all
Right.
around.
Okay.
So it gives it gives that feeling. But with that band, it was almost an entire year.
Wow. Yeah. And it's just touching on what you said before about the idea. I had this exact conversation with my little brother. We were talking about the future of live streaming, where it might go, and you feel like bands might have a space that they have is theirs, and they do live streams from there. As you were saying, normally you do a show and then you travel that, so the city changes. But
Right.
this way, you'd actually have to do a different set. The songs have to change because, as you say, the same audience. So the pressure on
Absolutely.
you to do that, and that was one of the things we discussed was the theme thing, So which is brilliant. So I mean, how did you choose them? Was just you literally brainstormed it, or was it suggestions from people? How did it come about?
Well, I wasn't definitely gonna do a rap night because I know that Billy Gilman couldn't pull off that. Um, but I did ask the fans, and it was so great because the fans grew like 80,000 in like 3-4 months. So it was like this huge wave of new people, maybe older people that forgot what I was doing, where was Billy Gilman, whatever. And the outreach, because I was hitting the weekly, just started to grow and grow and grow. And so that I had enough audience to ask. And one of the bigger nights they wanted to hear was Disney. And it's funny because you hear these songs your entire life, meaning childhood, from like Dumbo to Toy Story to whatever, but you don't know the songs in and out. You hum them
No.
along and you kind of wander off. So to sit down and actually have to learn an 80s pop night from front to back to make an hour program, it was interesting. It really was, but it worked. And it was neat to me, because I can work with my agents, but they can only go so far because venues aren't open. You work with your managers to get opportunities. You're working every day business wise, but that means shit to me. Okay,
Yeah.
you need to do it, but that's like, so to dive into music you might know, but to really remember it, realize you got to perform it, it was refreshing. So it was my lane again amidst this pandemic. So it was neat to work on my business side, but to also have those moments where I got to dig in and learn glass tigers don't forget me when I'm gone. You know what I mean? Something like that. So it was neat. It was fun.
Did it give you a real appreciation for the songwriting on those, especially like Disney songs are so well written? I mean, from a
Oh yeah.
songwriting point of view, and do you feel like any of those themes are going to start to you'd like to do stuff in that? Do you feel like you can bring any of that with you? Because I feel like taking a deep dive into 80s pop and then deep dive into like Disney or anything like that, or
Mm.
something you wouldn't normally do. You'll
Mm-mm.
normally brings you a new appreciation for it. So are we gonna see the next Disney film soundtrack by Billy Gilman?
Hey, everyone was really freaking out about it, so you never know. It could be a voiceover or a thing like that, absolutely. Or it could be a couple of these songs that I really realized, wow, Billy Gilman can pull them off. We'll put it in my band and have them do their own flair to them. There are songs that stuck with me that I probably will be doing going forward. So absolutely. And I think there was a song I did for the country night um, called Where Have You Been? Heard the song forever. It was written by Kathy Mattea. That was the performer, who was a very big 90s country performer. And her husband wrote it, I believe. And it's such a gorgeous song, and I thought to myself, "Why hadn't I ever done that before?" I'm all about the story
Mm.
songs, and it's about a couple that grow it's all it reminded me as I'm singing it live, it reminded me of the movie The Notebook. They kind of fell in love, but it was not the right situation, but they fought through it, and then they ended up together and could never be apart. It's a beautiful song. I've I wouldn't have done that if it wasn't for the pandemic. So there are songs going
Yeah,
forward that probably will end up in my show. Absolutely. My real live
I think
shows.
it's important. I think it's important to actually find the silver lining in this because been such a shit time for everybody, and I
Mhm.
think it's really important to try and find the silver lining. I think well, there are some positives that have come out of people have personal positives that have come out of it,
Absolutely. And
and
you gotta dance
you know
around it too. I feel you gotta, you can't be overtly positive because there are so many people struggling to buy a package of chicken. It's real, so I try to be positive, but I'm naturally I've gone through some rough times in my career, and to be able to be as positive I am, that makes it positive too. Like, I'm proud of my mind and my going forward and not falling back and becoming as depressed as I was or could be. So I kind of give off this vibe of everything's really great, be happy, but you got to realize you got to go on a level of, but I see you and I understand that some of you aren't happy, and that's my job to let you put your headphones on for an hour and 45 minutes and just goof off, sing songs, touch you in a way where you forget about your issues. You're thinking of the song, or you're remembering your grandmother or your aunt or your dad, or that's my job. And when I get letters back
yeah.
saying I had the worst week ever and you helped me through to survive another one, that's the best situation out of this. Yeah, in my
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a very very important point to make, and you can be positive without feeling like you're being insensitive. The two things aren't mutually exclusive. So definitely.
absolutely.
Um, well, let's talk about. I like to sort of talk about all the ingredients that go into making an artist the person they are today, and I mean, undoubtedly, unusual childhood. You had your first album out when you were 11. I mean, superstar status at such a young age. What I mean, it's hard to say what was that like because it's a silly question, but I mean, just were you able? But it's just how did how do you ask this question without saying without sounding stupid? But I
No,
mean,
no
it is
stupid
a
no stupid
it is a
question.
crazy it is a crazy thing to for most people to think about having like an album out when you're 11 years old. What were the circumstances leading up to that, and what was it like, kind of getting that album done, and what your memories of that time?
Yeah, so it is a different thing. It's definitely a minority. And
Mhm.
there was never ever a moment of me not singing. I don't remember when I started. At 18 months old, my parents have a film of me humming the Jeopardy theme in a chair. It's just something that chose me, to be honest. And with that, and when I was younger, it was never a nonchalant or a shyness or a coy attitude. Um, I just knew that I needed to do it, and I didn't care who thought it was wacky or not. I would make my teachers sing. I would make my teachers allow me to sing for the class. I'd get detentions because they'd go, "No, we have to do our studies," and I'd be like, "No, we have 5 minutes." And I just needed to sing. It was totally something that was brought to me from a higher power. And I would sing for show and tell. I would sing for the choir, both school and church. And My grandmother realized that it was an odd situation. None of the other cousins and grandchildren are doing this or have this path, this weird force at 7 years old and 6 years old. She was like, she was a very business oriented woman, and she just couldn't get over that I was just so driven without no knowledge, without any knowledge of what I was doing. So she went behind my parents' back because my parents wanted to be, me to be normal and do my studies and all of that. So she was found a vocal coach, and every Tuesday she'd say, "Oh, we're going to get some lunch," to my mom, and really I was going to a vocal coach to learn and do all the necessary tricks. And 11 Tuesdays in a row, my mother's like, "You guys don't like lunch that much. What's going on?" And so we let her know that, I really wanted to expand this opportunity. And so they obliged, and I got to continue with this vocal coach who is now with me for 24 years. Um,
Wow.
yeah,
Well,
and she
I was going to say that your delivery on that first, it is that first album, the delivery is not childish in any way at all. It's, I mean, despite the obvious range of a child's range, but
sure.
it's not a childish delivery. I mean, it's a very professional delivery.
Thank you. And yeah, it was just years of honing it, you know what I mean? And
Yeah,
molding it the one thing that Angela, the vocal coach, she knew was she knew how to bring out the good tones and create an adult mentality around the delivery. And that I will
yeah,
forever be grateful. It gives it a timeless quality. Um, and I worked before One Voice came out. I mean, I was flunking school. I had to be pulled out and tutored to make it work because I was working 4 and 5 nights a week, especially during the fall when school was in session, opening up for country acts, opening up for pop acts, doing my own little show, just hitting the pavement and realizing what you do on stage and what you don't do. And along the road there, I was approached by a gentleman in a band who knew Asleep at the Wheel, who was a country band, a very, very legendary country band out of Texas. And he said, "I think that they could really get Gilman's foot in the door. Do you have a demo?" So we recorded and made a demo. We sent it to this gentleman, and he sent it off to Texas. They freaked out, went down and did my very first demo at 9 years old. Uh, a year went by. We got a phone call that the demo actually made its way into Nashville, and they wanted to fly me to the Wild Horse Saloon to do a kind of like a showcase. And in 3 months, I was signed to Sony. And the following November, I had turned 11. And we started the recording process of it. And by May of 2000, One Voice was released. So it was a quick thing, but it was a very, very long time
yeah.
process. I started at 7 professionally making money. So from 7 to 11, that's a lot of years when you think about it, of grinding, not just like, oh, well, we're this kid. We were moving. I was up and down from New Hampshire to Massachusetts to Connecticut to Rhode Island to just hitting the pavement and making my presence known as much as I possibly could as an adolescent.
Yeah, I mean, this was what I was saying. Like, you look at the look at the list. You got like 6 albums in as many years. I mean, that's a slog. You did two in the first year. Is it? You did a Christmas album as well in the
Yeah.
first year. I mean,
We,
what was
they,
that schedule like? I mean, that must have been pretty hardcore.
well, they didn't know who was going to take to a kid. They didn't know what was going to happen, obviously. And then when it really started to rocket fire, if you will, the record was slated to go to number one on country radio, which had never happened in like 50 years. Um, Brenda Lee, I think I broke her record, and her record was 1957, I believe it was, or something along those lines. So they knew that something was going on. So then started the TV, So not only was I doing One Voice record, then TV and promo. I was that October of that year, I was in between touring with Reba McEntire, um, and doing the Christmas record. because I had a 4 record deal. So no matter the success, a flop or a triumph, I still had to deliver 4 records. So they
Yeah.
already knew that I needed to go in quick, and they wanted to go in quick because a woman, unfortunately for a man, a woman's voice change does not happen as drastically as ours does. So they
Yeah,
knew they had the
you're
clock.
against the clock at that point, aren't you? You're like,
They were against the clock, and so they had to move, and I understand that it's a business. Um, so just work, just I let it in. The one memory I have is I was in that room so many times. Every artist that was in that vocal booth would sign their name after their session. Well, I was in there so many times, I counted. I signed my name 22 times. Why
wow.
didn't everyone just
It's
sign their name once? Tanya Tucker, Glenn Campbell, all these people. Uh, so it was just, but it was what I had in my head since I was a child. So there was no like, I'm tired or this is too
no, you
much.
were sounds like you're a willing participant in this. You were
Oh yeah.
on board, 100% on board with this.
Oh yeah, and the coolest thing was they saw that. They knew they weren't dealing with a kid, like, okay,
Yeah,
go play for an hour and relieve stress and stop crying. I, at 12 and 13 years old would say, okay, I want to sit on the string sections. I want to sit in and hear the horns. I want to watch the engineer push the button and fix this and do that. They couldn't believe that this was going on with me, and
yeah,
it was just I love every moment of it. I mean, I listened to country when I was very young, the Grand Ole Opry every Friday night, but then Angela, the voice coach, had a very big pop record in the early '80s, late '70s, and toured with Rodney Dangerfield in Vegas, and so I didn't know that pop world that she knew. So she introduced me to Donna Summer and the Bee Gees and Barbara Streisand, and hearing these string arrangements and learning all these notes and these beautiful crescendos. And so when I went in at 12 years old, I was like, okay, I want to hear that drum roll like I heard on that record. I know where this should go. So I went in with a little bit more knowledge, I guess, than a normal kid that just has an opportunity because he looks the part. I don't know.
yeah.
I
Well,
don't
I
know.
was one of the albums in that 6 album streak that really stuck out was the Music Through Heart songs. So tell us a little bit about that, because this is the Matty J.T. Stepanek poem. So a real special kid. Um,
Unbelievable kid. I just not a person you meet probably again in your lifetime, kind of a person. He was remarkable. He really was.
so he died at age 13, but he had a really rare condition.
Mhm.
But he'd written these poems, and they were put to music. Were you involved in that process, or were you brought in just to sing? How did you kind of come to be involved?
Well, I was on Larry King in late 2002, and only had half the show, and so I didn't know who they were going to put on for the other half because Larry has an hour or had an hour, and they put this Matty Stepanek kid on, and I'm like, I've heard of him, and I knew that he was, ahead of his time with his writing, um, but I really didn't pay attention until that night when it aired. And I was at home with my parents, and we watched my segment, and then we watched Maddie's, and he started to read a poem called "For Our World," which it needs to be addressed right now, as a matter of fact. But I mean, this 11-year-old at that time was saying we need to stop, be silent, and notice so many ways we are the same. Our differences are unique treasures. These words I'm hearing him say, I'm like, this is music. This is like this needs to be in another lane other than just these poetry books. So
Yeah,
I called my manager at the time and I said, I have this idea and I know Sony's really gonna not go for it. They want another commercial songs for radio and music videos and all that. I said, but you know, who knows when one's career is over or just beginning or will go on. I need to make this record to have it. And Maddie needs it to have it. He had a rare form of muscular dystrophy. I'm sure if your listeners remember the Jerry Lewis MDA telethon in Las Vegas every year to raise money for these diseases. It affects your muscular proteins. There's 42 of them, and he had one. I think I only think there's 80,000 people in the entire world that have it, mitochondrial myopathy. It affects your lungs. It affects your, your vocal cords that are muscles, like ALS. So I knew that there was borrowed time, but I didn't know what time. So we really fought. I really stood my ground and said this needs to be made. It's bigger than commercial success.
Yeah.
And finally, Sony said, "All right, do what you want." They probably knew they were going to let me go anyway, so they're like, "Let him have his fun." I don't know, but they knew the voice change was right upon their doorstep, so I got to do this, and I was in the recording process, the making of the melodies, because it was very interesting. I don't think many of these songwriters were in a project that the lyrics were already done. And the one stipulation that Matty and his team, along with his mother, made is nothing can be really changed. Uh, so that was difficult too, because he would use some words that were totally song friendly, but you had to keep them. So it was a great challenge. And
Right.
I saw such pride in a lot of the songwriters knowing that they just defeated something that they've never personally done. So it was really a neat effort for all of us. And, after that, I got to be really heavily involved with the Muscular Dystrophy Association with Jerry. Since 2004, I've raised approximately $2.5 million for that organization.
Wow.
And it kept me alive too during my voice change, because there were many
Yeah.
times I couldn't sing. It was the doctors would say they would make no sound. It was out of my control. So speaking and touring the world, you know, uh, um, doing philanthropic work kept my name out there, but also I knew that I was still keeping along. I was keeping on the same path of what I've always done. I always strived to sing songs that will change someone or something, or be of service to change something or someone. And so I was still, my heart was being fulfilled, even though I couldn't do the one thing that I've always wanted to do, you know?
You're still
But it,
creating something positive, even if it
absolutely.
wasn't music.
And
Yeah.
very busy. I mean, I would be gone 3 weeks out of every month doing different charity events or corporate events, or So it wasn't that I was totally docile during that time. Which, as an artist and as a performer, I was grateful for that. I didn't take it as a form of, oh, I can wedge this where I can still be me. My heart was in it, and I think that's probably why they kept me on so long, because they saw how much I loved to want to help defeat these diseases because of the Maddie record. It all stemmed from that Larry
And
King.
that all stems from, yeah, it was such, what a serendipitous moment
Yeah,
to have met him at that time, and then for that to become such a big part of your life at a time when you needed something really at that time. You know what I
isn't
mean?
that
Without
crazy how
that,
that works? It's crazy how that just changed. Who knows what I would have done if I didn't have that, to be honest.
so Matty's giving you that little project to carry with you through that time.
Yeah.
So that was a tough time, the voice change and everything. So did you always did you kind of know that you'd be coming back? That there was always in your mind that you'd do that, or did you ever doubt that your voice would ever come back?
Well, so when it started, I was on the bus, and granted, we had to cancel like 90 dates, because it was
Or
just.
it came that like you were
Oh
that
yeah,
suddenly sort of thing.
I was on the road, and I got off the stage and I said, I hurt tonight. Like I feel taxied. Like normally I could sing for 4 hours, or 5 hours, do a 2 hour rehearsal, then do a 2 hour show, then and wake up and do it again. I felt different. So my team was like, oh, because they're like, oh, we think we might know what that
This
is
is
from.
it. Like, yeah,
And so we would go to the doctors time and time again. And then when it really got down to the wire, they said, you really should stop performing if you want any chance of having an adult career, or you could just keep going and damage it and be done and, find something else to do. So I had to, let go of my whole team, truck drivers, bus drivers, band, assistants, sound men. I mean, it was one of the most difficult times. I can still see. I'm sitting in the vocal. Stephen Brown was the vocal doctor at Vanderbilt Voice Clinic in Tennessee, and I can still see me looking at the clock, thinking, "Oh my God! In 2 hours, all these people are going to be let go. They have to find another tour. They have to find another job. And it's not even my choice. That was the
yeah.
just the wackiest thing. I had to honor this, so I stopped. And I had a studio room of my own, and I would go in it and just try and keep hitting these high D's and high F's and thinking if I just keep singing them, they won't go away. And I did, and I almost completely damaged it. And I had to go on voice rest for 6 months. It's not 6 weeks, 6 months.
Wow.
And I said, okay, I really got to calm down and I got to let Mother Nature ride it out. And it took a long time. My voice change took whether it's because I use it in such an intricate way,
Yeah.
it took years for me to come back and do differently, but the same as far as stability, endurance. I was in my early 20s before I really could really properly sing again. Um, so yeah, it took a long time, a very, very long time.
Yeah, because I noticed the when you um the singles "Say You Will" was that the
Yeah.
sort of was that the first when you came back? Because you'd done this charity single in 2012, "The Choice,"
Hmm.
with all these legends. I mean,
Yeah.
absolute. I mean, what was that? I mean, what? Where was that in the
S- So what?
timeline?
Yeah. So Maddie record. It was 2004. I was 15. um 16, 17, 18. I was doing all of the muscular dystrophy national youth chairman work for many years. No, of course, no voice. For I could maybe get out a song, and then I would become. I would literally like. There was a song on the record. Okay, going from "La" to like singing like "If they would find a cure," nice and soft. And by the end of that song, I'd be like this. I'd become. It would.
Ah, so
So
you had a limited kind of shelf
very
life for that time. Yeah.
literally 8 minutes. So, but I knew that if we did it correctly and I sing correctly, I could get out a record. Couldn't tour them. I couldn't do much with them, but I can make them. So Image, I signed a deal with Image Entertainment, and they did 2 records of mine, Everything and More, and Billy Gilman, and that was during the heat of the voice change. So what would take me a month took like 11 months because it just took so long. But they were wonderful and they were patient. And some of the greatest songs that I've done thus far, in my opinion, have come from that Billy Gilman record. Southern Star, Let Me Remind You Again. I did a duet with Pam Tillis, who's a country legend. So I could work, but it wasn't of any, like I couldn't really full throttle because I would have been done. So
Yeah.
so I went to Nashville and really, during the time of my uncertainty, went back and became something that I really had not been allowed to do because there were times where I just had to be the artist, and then the short shelf life, I went away, and that was songwrite and co-produce and things and learn the knobs and the buttons and the correct way of being in a room, a writer's round, going to the Bluebird and seeing these writers that wrote past hits of mine that I never got to like become family with. And that's so necessary in the industry, not to just be this face, but be within. So for 4 and 5 years, I of course was living there and just hitting the pavement as I viewed myself as an unknown. Like, okay, this is a new person. I'm coming at this as nothing. And that's how "Say You Will" was written. A couple other ones, "The Choice." I co-wrote that one, and "The Choice" was a freak thing, and it really made me feel good because we were writing the song, and I knew that it wasn't a normal single to try and fight for. Meaning at this point now in my career, now we're starting to go to Spotify, things are starting to stream. You're not really going to a record store anymore. So it was very neat to just put out "Say You Will" or do this and that because that's the way it works now. Um, but "The Choice," so when we were writing it, I'm like, let's just keep writing it because I've always been of charity. I've always been that way. Let's see if maybe if this can become like an anthem for something. It sounds very, very like an anthem. So we wrote the song, we found a home for it, and I had no artists, right? I had no idea of, okay, we're gonna do this. Let's kind of make it like a country music, We Are the World. I don't know if people are gonna remember who I am, but hell, it's worth a shot. It hasn't been that many years. So we started to record it. I put down the vocal. My voice, of course, is now pretty much back in shape. And we go to the organization that I want to bring it to, which is Souls for Souls. They put shoes on kids and adults' feet. 3 billion people don't have shoes, which doesn't, it disables them for getting a job, going to school, all these things to help their life. I thought that's pathetic. We need to help this. I sit down with David, the president of the company, and I said, I have this fabulous idea, and I have Leanne Rimes, Keith Urban, and Kenny Rogers on board already. Do you want to go? I did not have them on board. Now, the,
Yes.
the co-writer who was like the money man, he's been an amazing person in my career. He looks to me and his eyes got as big as golf balls. And he walked out of the office. He goes, "Are you crazy?" I went, "Hmm?" So
Very possibly, yeah.
I call Leanne Rimes and I said, "Listen," because she and Keith Urban are really the only ones that I really consistently speak to, coming out of from child to adult. You say hi to other artists, but really talking where I felt immediately comfortable. I said, I have this song. I've just said yes to a company. Not will you? I said, you need to help me and just sing one line. I want one line from each artist. You can do it in your living room. We can edit it perfectly. You can do it wherever you want, wherever you feel comfortable, because I know touring schedules with other artists can be crazy. You do it within this window of time, and I'll be done with you. I won't ask another favor. Aunt Leanne started and Keith Urban started. And then after that, it became this snowball of artists like Winona and Randy Travis coming on board saying, why haven't our artists heard it? We would love to be a part of it. Like the role fit. Now they're asking, right?
They've
So
been
I
queuing
wanted
up to be on it.
yeah, I wanted 8 artists and we ended up with 19. So it was really, really
Wow.
interesting. Yeah. Was number 2 on the CMT video charts. And I was very proud of that. Again, to do something for the greater good too is even more of a home run.
Balls of steel just to go in there and go, yeah, I got these guys.
I'll never
Oh,
forget.
God.
So I was back home in Rhode Island. I flip flop. I go back and forth because, yes, my career was totally driven by me, even at a young age. But I did miss out on Christmases and birthdays, and I'd be on bed rest because I had pneumonia because I did, 20 shows in a row as a kid. So they didn't want to hurt my young lungs. So I'd have to go into bed rest and miss family time. So there's always many moments of my life where I miss my family. So I love going back and forth and having that option. And gratefully and thankfully, I can do that. So I was back home when I realized Kenny Rogers not only said yes, but just finished his record recording his part. And I said, "Oh my God, that's awesome!" And they said, you're never gonna believe where he did his recording." And I said, "Where?" They said they actually made a studio in his tour bus bathroom and recorded his part. And I said, "Oh my God, that is talk about someone going out of their way to record one line." I said, where was he?" And they were like, "Oh, he's at this place called Foxwoods Resort Casino." I said, "He's where?" I said, "That's 11 minutes from my home." I drove to Foxwoods and and met up with the bus
What?
and personally shook his hand and thanked him. I mean, it's crazy.
This is it's insane.
It's crazy, right? So yep, I got a backstage. I said, arrange it. So I took my grandmother as a surprise to her because she loves Kenny Rogers, and we took a picture and I got to thank him face to face. I said, "What are the odds of you singing a song that was made in Nashville, thousands of miles away, and here you are 20 miles from my home recording the part for the song?" It was too weird. It was quite the story.
That's crazy. That's crazy. So when I wanted to talk about the Say You Will time, but more
Mm,
importantly, on a personal level, was around that time you came out
mm,
as gay. What
mhm.
was that? I mean, you must. How long you struggled with that? Obviously for a while, for a long time, and or what was that? I mean, how? I'm trying to think because your story is as much centered around your personal experience of it as it is the music. It's
Sure.
just it's a real factor through the whole thing. You can see that how dealing with your being a child superstar and all the personal issues that knock on effect from that,
Sure.
possibly. What was it like at that time when you obviously knew that this was something you needed to do?
Well, it was advised to do it. I just thought because I was always a fan of people, but I didn't care after they left the stage and could say hello. Maybe I didn't care what they. I don't care if they went on a roof and ate Fruit Loops with their pet owl. I don't care what you. So and first of all, I am not. I may have gotten more so because that's just the way our world is. You have no choice. But I was not a social media like, "Oh, what are they doing?" kind of a person, where the majority of our world wants to know every moment of every being if they're your fan, and now they have a window of opportunity to do that. Um, when I was doing One Voice, I mean, we had MSN chats to connect with fans online. That's all it was at that point. So I didn't understand it. So and I'm of that time, which is weird. I'm socially inept, really, when you think about it, and technically inept. I don't. It's taken me forever to figure out my iPhone. Um, so when I never really. I don't know if it was so. I don't know if I had a sense of who I was when I was young, and then it just kind of parlayed into this image. Because I mean, to be honest, I mean, I was like a personality before I was a person. You know, even though it was my choice, I was still molded into this image, and I just kept the image. So I was always just Billy Gilman. And it wasn't until I started to really songwrite where I felt funny saying certain pronouns. And I thought,
Right.
that's really strange. Right. And so soul searching led to one thing to another. Did I know deep down in my subconscious that I might be a gay artist? I can't answer that question. Maybe it was so deep and just not even paid attention to that it hit me like a wave. I don't know. But yeah, I came to grips with it in my mid-20s and started to do the necessary steps as respectfully and as cautiously as you can. And my team said, you know what, if you really are finding your true self, we can totally see that by your happiness, your patience, all around your all around persona has definitely changed for the better. Because you don't look like you're nervous or something's about to be revealed. Like for a few years I hid it, and I always acted like, uh-oh, it might come out today, so there was always this cloud over me.
Right.
and
Yeah.
um and so then I um was at a festival with my significant other, and someone took our picture, and then I came to find out that it was a news reporter, and I thought, you know what, I gotta be the sailor of this ship,
Yeah.
or
Get control
otherwise
of it. Yeah. Yeah.
I gotta buck up here and really think of something. So during that time, I don't know how this specific magazine knew, but they wanted to do a cover story, and it could have been advocacy, but I didn't. I ultimately said no. I don't want to do a, an, a cover story of something like that, because they'll automatically think, oh, this is his one way to try and sell a record, and that wasn't it. That's not
No.
what wasn't my game plan. So I said, you know what? I think if you all need me to do this, I need to do it my way, which I thought necessary was YouTube. So I took to YouTube and I just, for a good 20-25 minutes, I spewed my piece and I said, you're my fans and I never want to let you down because you've never let me down. This is where I'm at. This is who I love. This is the situation. Doesn't change who the music is, doesn't change who I am, but this is my reality. And I want to be as transparent as I always have been. And it went, I mean, I think it had 2.5 million views in like 20 hours. It just went viral very fast. But it did it A, on its own. No one had an agenda with it. And B, it was so personal that I had gotten so many letters still, and it's been a good many years now, of kids not having a voice and no longer now feeling alone, and that they can have conversations with their parents who may not agree with this or kick them out of their homes, which is a very real thing. So it became an advocacy thing on its own. It was organic. And I'm very honored to stand beside people that don't have a voice again, in a way, so it was a very touchy thing. I didn't necessarily agree with wanting to come out, but you need to be truthful, and I'm glad, we did it in the way I did it.
I suppose it's there's there's a kind of a toss up between it being something personal, and obviously for you it doesn't matter to your music who you love, doesn't make any
Right.
difference. But
Right.
then is there a you have a responsibility as a person, person in the public eye
Yep.
to represent. So I mean, was that did you so you sort of say you didn't feel that pressure, then you realized that actually this actually was something important.
I knew it was important. I knew it was always important, but I could always hide behind a song even though I believed in the song. I For instance, Oklahoma, okay, it was a song about a boy who never knew his parents and flip-flopped from foster home to foster care to foster home to foster care, never knowing where he belonged. His father never knew he existed. Come to find the ways of means, the father says to the social workers, okay, I didn't know he existed. Of course, I want my son. Bring him to Oklahoma. So it's this story about the father and son meeting for the first time. Well, that's an
Yeah,
advocacy for foster parents and foster care and adoption agencies. Great advocacy, but I could hide behind it. It was not me. Um, but it was a song I believed in. Now, this is something that's to my core. So
yeah,
that can get you a little funky because it's a total tap dance of it's just you're walking a tightrope every day of your life to do the complete right thing for them and for you. And I just still to this day say to myself, don't let it get ahead of you. Deep breaths. If it comes from an organic statement, every move you make, if it comes from an organic place, you're at no fault. If you're pushing something down someone's throat, or if you're elaborating on to something too much or not enough, people can backlash you. But if you just do it where it's totally organic, 24/7, I think you will never have an issue because it's only from the heart. And that's how I've tried to base my life thus far.
did you feel a kind of a freedom after it, as far in terms of a knock-on effect to your music and your general well-being? Did it did you feel like maybe it was a weight off, maybe but did it have a knock-on effect to your creativity, songwriting, music, your life in general? I mean, it feels like you're kind of starting a new chapter from there where everything's out in the open. I feel like it's going to have a positive effect on your creativity.
Okay, so it has a positive it's all positive. It has a major positive effect on my general well-being, which will only make the music better
Yeah,
because I'm not stricken with a fear or anything. I can have I can have the fear I had when I was making One Voice and Billy Gilman and Dare to Dream and the Christmas, that fear of success, not the fear of, well, people hate me, plus the fear of success, which is not very healthy. And that was a low that I hope I will never ever have to experience again. Um, that was probably the darkest time in my life going forward. Yeah, the power of music and how that can help you get out of certain mentalities is remarkable, and that's why I will always be a musician because it got me out of the darkest time of my life. So it only makes the music better because you are now there's no there's no you're not scared anymore. There's no more cloud, there's no more fog, there's no more it's just clear. It's just you're being 100% you and authentic, like this person next to me writing a song, or this person, I think, so it doesn't make being in the role doesn't make the music better. Me being me now happy makes the music better, I think.
yeah,
You know?
absolutely. Um, the Voice, your
Oh,
experience on The Voice. Um, what was? I mean, that's got to be a scary moment standing up on that stage. Um,
I said no for 4 years. So when I was in Nashville writing and Say You Willing It Up and The Choice, they were calling. my management
Right.
called us. What we think, what's he doing? We heard this kind of going on. We really think his story will be, that's what The Voice is all about. And I every time would go, nope, nope, nope. If I made it on my own at a really age where people didn't believe it, I can make it on my own again. Um, and so they called so many times that the very last time that they called, I went silent and I said, you know, let me have some meetings because I'm not one to just dive in on anything. I need to do my research a little bit. I needed to research what they were really all about. I needed to research with past team players that weren't really in my career or around my career, older managements and that were still friends, and record people that aren't even in the record business anymore that are still friends but have the knowledge. And they all literally said the same thing, down honestly to the same sentence. What have you got to lose? So I thought, you know what? I am more known as a country singer, but I don't think I could go on that show and say, remember me, and then do a country song. I just think it didn't sound right to me. It didn't sound organic. I just wanted to pick a song to show everyone what this fullest potential was. And it was the Adele song. I just thought, that's such a middle of the road song. That could so be country when we were young. I thought that's such a great thing. So yes, I placed myself into a mentality of, I'm at a stage in my career right this minute. Who knows what will happen in 5 years? Who knows what will happen in 3 years? But right now, when I jumped in and did The Voice in 2016, 17, I said, this will be a great chance just to have fun. Don't think of a career and a path. You don't have to. It's a TV show. So then I just explored all these different songs that I've been wanting to sing for so long that I heard. And, they just didn't fit the bill at the moment. That's just the way it worked. So I got to do the Adele song, and I got to do a Martina McBride song, which of course is a humongous artist in country. I got to do a Celine Dion song that I thought Billy Gilman could pull off. So I got to just spread my wings in a way where there would be no back. If I was releasing a Celine Dion song to country radio, they'd think I'm crackers. But doing it on a TV show is only just going to allow people to see what your voice is fully capable of doing. Because country radio, pop radio, rock radio, radio hits are very more along the lines of, is it a memorable hook? Is it catchy? Well, catchy songs sometimes aren't big wailing belty songs. It just isn't. It's not. So it just gave me a chance to do songs to have fun, and I was so honored that America saw how organically honest I came into it, and just wanted to have fun and just completely say hello again to the world. And what a great way, in front of 4 or 5 million people every night. And I just prayed that I was doing it in such an honest way where they'd want to keep me week after week. And we made it all the way to the finale. But standing on that stage the very first time, I I was more scared then than I was at 12 years old, walking into a room full of adults and stepping up to a microphone and going, "I hope I know what I'm doing." I was
Yeah.
to 100% more scared.
And what was it like when you chose Team Adam,
Hmm.
Adam Levine? What was that like? What was he like?
He was great, and I went with him because he was the first one that turned around, and I always go with people that immediately respond, because I think there's something there that they're hearing. Not there, he didn't give it enough time to go. I think I'll post. Like, he heard something and he hit the button. That impressed me, and I felt very grateful for that. And he also let me just. I told him my vision and what I thought would be necessary for me, and he just let me do it. He didn't. He really didn't say. He didn't fight me on songs. Um, he just let me. He understood the path that I needed to go on, and so yeah. Oh, Henry, no, the work from
Who's this?
home. But so that's Henry and Brady, named after Tom Brady from the Patriots or the Buccaneers now.
Buccaneers now, yeah.
Yeah. So at the finale of the show, um, he said, I let you do what you wanted to do up until now, and I have one request, and that you've got to do My Way from Frank Sinatra. And I'm like, oh, dude, I don't know.
Big song,
This
big
isn't my
song.
cup. This isn't my cup of tea. This is not something that this could, I don't know. I don't think this is for me at all. And he said, nope. He said, I honestly believe you should do this song, and I won't take no for an answer. So I'm like, oh, shit. So I said, can you give me an hour with the song alone? No preconceived things going forward. I don't want any arrangements that you have in mind, because they kind of formulate an arrangement before you get in the room just to move things along, because it could go very long if you're organically and you have 4, 5, 20, 30, 40 other contestants. So they kind of have a bones of a structure going. And I said, can I have this song alone? And he said, sure. So I took it for an hour and I said, okay, I've got the idea of people will know that it's the song my way. But if I completely start it in the dark, a cappella, people will be, their minds will be flipped because they've never heard it this way before. It'll be recognizable, but it will be me.
Yeah.
And he said, no, absolutely not. He said, you cannot be cold for 40 or 30 seconds on live TV with a live orchestra. Your recipe for disaster is right there. I said, then just do a click track, make them live, and I need to be a cappella. And we did it. And literally, no matter how much of a country artist I am, or Americana artist I am, that song is one of the most requested songs since then, because people just couldn't believe it. And I guess he was right.
Yeah. Excellent. What a great experience though to have that you know, that sort of experience. So you um that's amazing, amazing.
Yeah.
I don't know if it would be I've turned it down this year, and I don't know if I'll I might cave in at some point, but not maybe not yet. Or
Well,
maybe I'll maybe do 4 times a charm.
I did 4. Uh, and you know,
Seems
it's
like
a great
it works for you, so that seems like it's seems like a good rule.
go for it. I say go, you know what? Doing it now, I say go for it, because, you know, uh, they the funny thing about The Voice is, and this is, I'm sure you've heard, it's more or less just a showcase of what you can do to the world, and they go back to the bones of their reality show. They really don't put the put the backing into the winner to enable big success, or like 19 Management does with Idol. Not knocking The Voice at all. It's just a different monster.
Yeah.
That was great for me. That was something that I was so thrilled at the thought of, because I didn't want to be held into a management company that's going to mold me into something that maybe it could make money. You never know. But I just wanted to say hello to the world, and then immediately after go out and tour. And that's exactly what I did, and have toured since then. That's all I wanted to do. And with that, grows numbers, grows social medias, grows record interest. You know, there was, I saw the path that I needed to do. Would it take longer? Probably, but it's more, it's more longevity. You know, I could have gone
Yeah.
on Idol and they could have formulated me into this pop thing and have 2 smash hits and then I'm dead. So you know, or country hits or rock hits, whatever they thought they saw in it. So The Voice is a great, great way to get out there and still have your foundation at the end. That's how I look at it.
Right. So what's next for you coming up now? I know that live's not happening, but
Yeah.
what's next? What you working on?
So we're working on a possible holiday venture. I don't know if it's going to happen. I haven't heard yet. That'll be a conversation I think later on today, actually. So holiday possible. Definitely more songs, writing more songs, talking to record labels now because of the virtual concert that just happened October 9th. Really got the interest of some different people that have always been pro Billy Gilman, but didn't really realize that I was that right there at that moment, and that ready to go, if you will. So a lot of meetings for 2021. I think my concert, I mean, it all depends what happens with cures and vaccines and quarantining, but slated May 7th will be the first show back, I hope. If something happens, maybe earlier than that. But so early spring is hopefully when we'll start rocking and rolling again. Um, we lost 112 shows this year, so it should be a
Wow.
very busy year next year. Along the lines of more industrial things, you know, of the industry, with people that are believing and wanna have meetings about records and music videos and all of that, in the guts of it. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's not a bad time. It's a very scary and different time, especially for other artists that may not, be in that same boat. I have many friends that are cruise ship singers, that are bar honky tonk singers, that are Broadway fly dancers that are making a little money and have these huge rents. So it's a very scary time for us performers, but I think next year will be a much better year, and hopefully we'll come out even stronger.
Excellent. We always ask for a recommendation of someone that you'd like to. It can be either someone, a friend of yours, you'd like to let people know is there and maybe needs a little bit of that people need to know, or it can be someone that's influenced you so much in your career that you just want to give them a shout. It's up to you. You can take it any way you want to.
Wow. So there's a gentleman. Now he's a cool dude. He was actually on The Voice last year. His name is Ricky Duran. He's a great guitarist, fantastic guitarist, and singer. And there was talk about us possibly touring. So give him a shout out. He's a great musician, and I wish him all the best. And I have to give a shout out to the woman that really at 7 years old, I first heard her, and she just has been my number one artist of all time, and that's the formidable Barbra Streisand. So shout out to Babs and Ricky Duran. Talk about an A to Z. Those two people.
What it's all about. It's what it's all
right?
About.
Absolutely.
So thank you so much for joining us. What's the best place for people to keep in touch with what you're doing?
So the one that really I'm attached to are Instagram and Facebook. Obviously, you can go to my website, billygilman.com, but I am on, along with my team, I'm on Facebook hourly, every day. That's where I do my virtual shows, if I do them again, if I don't have another big virtual, because when you do these real pay for ticket kind of virtual shows, they like you to not kind of do virtual on your own, just to make it worth it. But they can go to facebook.com/Billy Gilman, and then Billy Gilman official on Instagram. I'm always posting and having some fun on those. So those two sites.
Fantastic. Listen, it's great to see you back and enjoying life, and so full of enthusiasm for everything you're doing. And it's great to see you, and good luck with everything you're doing. And thanks for joining us. It's been an absolute pleasure talking to you. It's been one hell of a life you've had so far.
No, and I appreciate
one hell of a life so far. It's
crazy. It's crazy.
Wish you all the best for the rest of
you. And good luck with The Voice 4. Remember 4.